think it is.
And she's there representing the city as a councilman.
Of course, I live by the whole time she's up here.
Usually they stop there.
Yeah, I sat there for about 10 minutes and then up here.
Start with rain.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order.
What's that?
Let's go ahead and call it to order. Tonight should be a fairly quick meeting, I believe. The first item on the agenda is an ordinance to vacate a portion of the right-of-way on Midway that we've discussed before. This is the area that showed to be our street, and our street didn't run through it, and it ran through an area that would show to be Illinois River watershed, and so it's kind of a land swap. So, is there any? Would you like to address it, Daniel?
I can. This is a part of the overlay project with RDOT, we are talking about, and then part of the negotiations with RWD, asking for some additional right of way on the south side of Midway. They had asked, we have a finger, if you look at the very back page of this, there's a little finger of our land right of way that extends to the south, across Midway into their property. And what you see is hatched. They ask us to vacate that and give that back to them in exchange for the other right of way that we needed on the south side of the road to accommodate the overlay. And this is based on an old original plat of the city of Cave Springs, where it was said. And right across the road, if you're familiar with that area, there's a large drop off. So originally the street was platted to go further north, which is a hillside right there. So I guess when the road was built, they just moved it south somewhat. And this is more of a cleanup document. And visiting with Justin, we have two options to do this: the normal way to vacate right away, or we can do it in terms of this ordinance, since ownership right on the perimeter of that belong to two parties, the RWD and the city of Cave Springs, so it didn't require notification. So this was the direction I would decide to take.
So the selection area is what we're talking about.
That's correct. It cleans up the right of way in that area.
Okay. Any questions on that? Next item is the 2026 budget. Before I hand it out, I'm going to hand you a part of it. Pass that down if you would. This is an item that's in the police budget, and yet it will be purchased next year, and that's why it's in this year's budget. But it is substantial, and we need to move forward with the contract this year. So we are going to go ahead and probably have this on the agenda for the council meeting to approve the contract. And we've got Keith here to answer any questions and explain what this is actually about, because it is pretty significant. Keith?
So basically, over the last few years, we've discovered that we're deficient in a few areas. Number one, we do not have in-car video in our police units. It was one of those things where traffic at the time, it just wasn't at the level where we needed it. We invested our money in body cameras. So a few years ago, we entered into an agreement with Motorola and WatchGuard. It's not that the Motorola product hasn't been that great, but the customer service has been absolutely atrocious. We're nearing the end of that contract. We've looked at other vendors. We are at the point where now we're getting a lot more DWIs. We're getting a significant amount more drug arrests. With that comes the need for in-car video. Pursuits in Northwest Arkansas are going through the roof, and we need in-car video. We need it badly. So in conjunction with our need to replace our current body camera provider, we looked at somebody who could also supply us with in-car video. Now, all that being said, we also found that we were deficient in less than lethal alternatives. Two of our night units had gone to a disturbance call. It was actually a kind of noise complaint. During that period of time, they encountered an individual who severely injured one of our officers, struck him in the head with a cane. Our less than lethal that they're carrying right now is basically it's a pepper gun. The problem with it is not that it doesn't work, but you can't deploy it if you're within 8 feet of the suspect. Well, since they were hands-on with the guy, they couldn't get outside of 8 feet with it. So we decided it was the best alternative was to go to tasers. The latest and greatest thing with tasers is Taser 10. The previous generations of tasers were a one-shot or two-shot system where if you miss, you're back to being hands-on. The new Taser 10 fires 10 individual cartridges. So if you miss once, you got 9 more chances to hit the guy.
What's the range of those things?
About 45 feet.
Okay.
So you can go from contact distance to about 45 feet. Also, the previous generation of tasers, you couldn't shoot them in the rain. If they got submerged, you had to let them dry out. These new ones, you're not dealing with that. All that being said, we're also a little deficient in our training areas. It's hard to be able to pull guys off the road and send them to schools and take them to the range. We don't own our own range. So we've developed a package with Taser International Axon to purchase 15, back up to the body cameras. There's a new generation of body cameras out that operate off of AI technology. One of the things that we encounter pretty regularly with our officers is encountering people that speak different languages. The new body camera system that Axon and Taser have out can identify a language that someone's speaking all on its own. It doesn't matter if it's Vietnamese or it's Laotian or it's Spanish. It internally houses more than 50 different common languages. You press a button on the side of it, they're speaking, it identifies the language, and then it automatically translates. The officer can keep his eye on the suspect or the victim or whoever in his surroundings. He speaks in English, it translates into that person's native language, and when they speak, it translates it back to English. Now, all that being said, there's no need for the officer to pull out his phone, go to Google Translate, and all that kind of stuff, which is a safety issue in and of itself. The thing that it also does is when that officer uploads his video, it supplies transcript of everything that was said in both English and in that native language. The other thing that this system does is called Report 1. The officer can go to a domestic disturbance call, he can take a theft report, he can do whatever. He can activate his body camera, he can go do what he does best, which is investigate, and then he can upload that video, and it will give him a verbatim account of what was said and done during that encounter. And then all he has to do is go in, check it for accuracy, and upload that report. So if I went to Mr. Middlecamp's address and I was investigating the chickens, it would say, Lieutenant Lawson arrived at the address, and I would manually enter the address that I went to, made contact with, and it would have a blank. I would say, Mr. Mike Middlecamp, and then it would remember that, and it would say, Mr. Middlecamp stated that, and verbatim what he said. And it would continue on like that throughout the entirety of that call. And what this does is it gets our officers off the computer and back in the street faster, and it provides more accurate reports. All that being said, if the officer activates his taser, his body camera and his in-car video come on all on their own. If he activates his blue lights, his body camera and his in-car video activate all on their own. That comes with the price. Unlimited in-car or unlimited web storage for all the videos, unlimited taser cartridges, unlimited training, which is another thing. We're also going to get VR headsets, replacement weapons for both the taser and our duty weapons that fit in our holsters, so that we can put a headset on all of our officers, and they will be able to experience real-world situations in our squad room. They can de-escalate situations through verbal commands. They can get training on when to go to their taser, or when, if they should engage in a firearm, they can get training in weapon accuracy, taser deployment, and all sorts of other things. Virtually unlimited. We can increase our training hours exponentially without any additional cost and without sending anybody across the country to get a lot of this stuff. All that being said, the cost on this is a little over $100,000. Now, what I'm going to equate that to is we're going to have an extra set of eyes in the field. We're going to have better evidence going to court. We're going to be able to log into an officer's car if he's in a pursuit. Sergeant Hammersley will be able to sit in his car if he's got an officer in a pursuit and see what he sees in real time from anywhere in the world. And if that pursuit's getting too dangerous, he'll be able to call off that pursuit from his office. Or if that officer doesn't know exactly where he is, we'll be able to see where he is, and Sergeant Hammersley will be able to see where he is. Now, $108,000 a year is a lot of money. Contract runs 5 years. In order for us to get this price, and there's an estimate that it's going to go up about $37,000, $36,000 and change at the start of 2026. So what I'm asking is that we pass a resolution to allow us to enter into this agreement with Axon Incorporated, Taser International, this year. We don't have to pay them anything this year, but we'll start paying them in March of next year. That's when everything's going to hit. Now, they've agreed to come out and upfit 15 vehicles. That's included in everything. We'll have 15 body cameras. Every officer will have one of his own. We will not be checking out body cameras anymore. Right now, when an officer comes on duty, he has to drive to the police department and check out a body cam. He can't, if he has to take a call from the time he hits town and we've got an emergency situation, we're going to have an officer on the street without a body camera. And it's not often, but it does happen. He's going to take that camera home. If something happens on his way home, he's going to have video of it. If he needs to respond in a hurry on his way to work, he'll be able to, we'll have video of it. He's going to have a taser with him all the time now. He'll take that home. We'll get 15 of them. Every officer will have individual equipment. The body cameras will get refreshed every 2.5 years, so halfway through our contract, we'll get all new 15 brand new body cameras. If we have any issues with any of the equipment we call taser, they'll send us new ones. It's a lot of money. And we know it's a lot of money. And we try not to ask you guys for stuff that we don't need, but this is something we feel like we need. We're getting big enough and we're getting busy enough that we're trying to just keep a lid on it. So I'd like to ask you for a resolution to allow us to enter into an agreement to spend out of next year's budget. We just want to be able to tell Taser, yes, we're going to do it.
Yeah, to get this year's pricing.
I'm sorry.
It was to get this year's pricing.
To get this year's pricing, we need to. What they're wanting to send us is a binding quote.
Yeah.
So if they're wanting to send us a binding quote, and if you look on the paperwork, there toward the back, about 5 pages back, they're asking for a signature from the chief or the mayor, agreeing that starting in March of next year, they'll send us a bill for $108,000. And there's a breakdown. That price, we'll get a bill for that every March through 2030. But they're not going to bill us till next year. Again, we've budgeted for this in our budget. But in order for us to enter into an agreement out of next year's budget, since the budget hasn't been passed and isn't likely to be passed anytime here in the near future, because you guys got to do your due diligence. You got to go through it. You got to make sure everything looks right. But if we don't get this done by the end of December, bottom line is price is going to go about $36,000, which is about $180,000. It's $186,000 $180,480 over the course of 5 years. We're asking you to do this, save us $180,000.
So what happens after 5 years and?
After 5 years, we'll own the bulk of the equipment.
Yeah,
Now, we don't know how many officers we're going to have at that time.
yeah.
We don't know what they're going to charge us for storage. We may have added 3 officers. Of course, we'll go into contract negotiation with them again. I certainly don't anticipate that it's going to be $108,000 a year because we have already bought 15 sets of in-car video.
We get to keep all the stuff, we're not leasing it.
No, we're not leasing anything. This is a purchase.
In 5 years, presumably, even assuming we don't need new equipment, there's, like you said, storage, service,
Right.
and training.
We're still gonna, the ideal thing is if this contract goes through, everything works great, everybody else seems to be very happy with their product and their service that I've talked to, and there's a lot of places that are using these people. The Los Angeles Police Department, the Dallas Police Department, the City of Fayetteville, there's a lot of places that have switched to this company. It's been around for a long time. And it's just getting bigger. At the end of 5 years, I anticipate I'm hoping to have a couple more officers.
Yeah.
We buy a couple more in-car video systems, buy a couple more tasers from them, and maybe we replace a couple that need to be replaced. We negotiate a new contract with them for data storage, and we just keep right on trucking.
Oh, that makes sense. I was just making sure we were just leasing the equipment.
No.
We are purchasing it.
Yes. It is expensive. And we've tried to bust it out over the course of 5 years because it's $500,000.
Well, like you said, it includes a lot of service training. What I heard was unlimited training.
Yes.
And all the storage, except for all the video, that's a lot of storage.
What we always tell people, especially young guys, when they want to come to work here, is go to work at a bigger department because you'll get more experience in a bigger department. With the VR headsets, we can actually give them more training in real world type situations than we could ever dream of giving them otherwise. Warranty will cover the contract. So if somebody gets out and 5 years. If they get out and they get in a tussle and they break the body camera, we're going to send it back. They're going to send us another one. Now, beyond the contract period, that's something we'll have to negotiate out for warranty extension. When we get to that. This one of them kind of
What would be
crossing.
the useful life of a taser? Like, is it more than 5 years, or is 5 years probably about right?
It kind of varies. We've had tasers before, and the reason we didn't stay with tasers is because they were outdated. They didn't service them anymore. The ones we had were about 10 years old. Tasers constantly improving. They're upgrading. They're doing so on and so forth. Batteries eventually go bad. The old battery packs get replaced. One of the issues we had with the tasers before, again, was if I'm in a situation with you and I draw my taser and I fire it at you and one of the probes hits you and the other one misses, then I'm done. My taser's useless. With this system, that's not the case. The other issue was as soon as I pulled that trigger, taser did not replace that cartridge. I had to purchase that cartridge, and it was about $50. So every time we deployed a taser, it cost us about $50. Well, we deployed, 4 of them in a quarter. We're spending a couple of $100. With this, if we deploy one probe or 2 probes out of a 10-round cartridge, they're going to send us another 10-round cartridge. So we're going to take that cartridge with 8 rounds left in it, and we're going to use it for training. We're going to set it aside. Here's the other thing. If an officer gets out and he has to deploy 2 or 4 probes out of his cartridge, he puts it right back in the holster. If the next morning before his replacement cartridge comes in, he gets in a situation where he needs to use his taser again, it still works. He's still got 6 or 8 rounds left in it. It's just a better system.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
This translator thing,
Yes, sir.
Built into a headphone system that.
It plays over the body camera.
Plays out loud.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There's some other things that go along with that also. We can upload our policy into this system. So if an officer has a question about a policy, he can squeeze a button on his body camera and he can literally ask his body camera, what is our policy concerning runaway juveniles? And it will tell him. What is our policy concerning pursuing a fleeing misdemeanor? And it will tell him. There's a lot of things we can do with this that we just can't do otherwise.
Might have been an earbud or something.
We use most of the officers wear earpieces for their radios because if we run somebody that has a warrant, we don't want the bad guy knowing that we know that they have a warrant. But
So that's all right on
Yep.
the chest.
it plays on their chest. They can control the volume. They can silence everything, all that kind of stuff. The best part about the translation part is, let's say I pull over a person who's Hispanic, and I walk up there and I say, "Good evening, sir. I'm Lieutenant Lawson with the Cave Springs Police Department. The reason I pulled you over is you were speeding." And he says, "No, I'm not." "Sir, could you tell me your name?" And he says, "No, I'm not." The body camera is going to go, "Language identified as Spanish." And I'm going to say, "Sir, again, could you tell me your name?" And then it's going to ask him what his name is in Spanish. And then I'm going to say, "The reason I pulled you over is because you were speeding." And it's going to say, "The reason I pulled you over is because you were speeding" in Spanish. And I'm going to say, "I need to see your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance," and it's going to say in Spanish. And whatever he says in Spanish, it's going to say back to me in English. Then when I upload that video, that entire conversation is going to be there. And that translation is certified. So when that goes to court, that transcript of that conversation is admissible in court. And that's right now we're in a situation where I don't speak Spanish. I flunked out of Spanish class in high school. My Spanish teacher literally told me I was better off taking a nap and signing my name to the top of a blank test because I couldn't learn it. So my alternative right now is to get on the radio and say, "Is there anybody close that speaks Spanish because I need a translator?" And many times there's not. Yes, sir?
So let's assume we add 2 more officers. If we add 2 more officers next year, it's gonna happen because the city is growing.
Yes, sir.
Do we know right now, how much has it been discussed in this contract that you have? Can we negotiate it now into the contract so that?
So we have some extras? So we have more than
Yeah,
what
if
we
you
have.
have more.
We can ask for more. We can absolutely bump it up. So we have 16 or 17. I think it would be realistically, and NC, I appreciate where you're going. I really do. They're expensive. Considering the warning, considering the fact we can send them back. Yes, ideally, as an administrator, I would love to say, I've got a couple extras sitting here in case one of them tears up so I can issue it out, and in case we hire somebody in a year or two. That way we can just put them straight out on the road. But it's expensive.
No, what I'm saying that we negotiate how much you're gonna charge us.
If we add someone,
Yeah,
Right.
lock into the same price.
Yeah, lock it in.
oh, okay. That's a conversation I can absolutely have, yes.
Right now is the best time because you're signing.
Say, okay, will you give us this same price if we add
Yeah,
5 more, if we were to add 5 more people during the course of this 5-year agreement?
Right, up to 5 over the course of this contract.
I can absolutely do
yeah,
that.
something like that, so we have something because we don't wanna have.
So we know how much we're gonna be adding on.
Exactly.
I can absolutely do that. I'll talk to them about that and see if I can work it into the contract.
Just tell them we're not gonna do it if they don't do it, that usually works.
Well, I had a question. So you said 15. Do we have 15 or 13 officers right now?
We have 15,
15 including you.
including me and the chief. So
So you and the chief, I want you guys.
traditionally, we do not buy for me and the chief.
So basically we are ordering 2 extra anyway.
Kind of.
So, but So those
But-
would be at City Hall?
Right, so right now, and here's what I'm gonna say to that. There had been times when that was a mistake.
Not having a body cam routine?
Not having a body camera, not having a taser, not being, we are really bad about giving our stuff away. Because we don't need it all the time.
And the translation portion, we're limited in City Hall with ability to translate. And if he happens to be the one guy at City Hall and someone comes in and asks to get a police report or do whatever, he may very well need it right there in City Hall
You
for
know, that's one good point. You know, another issue is, let's say someone comes in and they're mad because Miss Grace suspended their driver's license because they hadn't paid their fines. And they need a good tasing and go to jail. Now, I don't have time to wait for Scott if he's up talking to Mark.
No, that
Or
makes sense. One thing about adding on, because that's kind of where I was going, I was like, wait, do you have 2 extra? That's what I was trying to figure out. I do like that you guys have your own, but also if we're talking about adding extra, I could see them saying, well, it's still only warranty for the fine, and if you get an extra one at the
Right.
4-year mark.
So,
to work out that.
realistically, we want to buy 15 because we have 15 people. We want, we need to have in-car video in my vehicle and the chief's vehicle.
I didn't think of that.
And the reason for that is there are times when we go flying through town because somebody called for help, or we get behind somebody and they're drunk, and they don't realize it's a police car, and we really need that video. There are times when you know we do go to a domestic because there's nobody else. Or we go to a domestic because there's only one guy available because the other one is arrested or drunk. And we're there with another officer. And we need body camera just as much as anybody else. Just because we're administrators doesn't mean that we're not there.
I wasn't thinking about, I was just thinking the body cam aspect.
Right.
So that's why I was trying to figure out what you were including in that 15, because I didn't have
Right.
13 patrol. Of course, I want you to have everything, but I like to ask these questions. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Anything else? No? The budgets.
Thanks,
And
Elsie.
there's a couple of things I want to point out. We did a lot of stuff last year that was using reserve funds. This year, there's very little of that. The general fund and all of the associated departments within the general fund. At the bottom of the budget, you'll see that this budget has a $300,000 surplus. And that includes his, what he just presented, it's in here. Streets have a $1 surplus, but it's right there. And it isn't a negative budget. The only two that, and it's much smaller this year, the only two that has any reserves being used is water and sewer. And we're about to get the information back on the rate study. And I suspect that will change early next year with the rate change. So we are working very hard to make it a good solid budget that takes care of everything we need and at the same time is responsible and balanced. The different department heads built their department's budgets. We discussed them a little bit, and there's a couple of things in water and sewer, like trucks, that once we get those rate studies, I may be coming back and looking at changing the budget there and hopefully take out the reserves and purchase a truck. But right now, this is the best that I think we can present and most responsible that we can present. until we get the results of those rate studies, which will be like end of the year, first of next year. So take them home, review them. If the next meeting is as short as I think it's going to be, if you want to adjourn into a work session and you have questions and you want to address it, that's fine. And we can make those adjustments at the next work session. We can go over it, and then we can try to have it ready to pass in December.
Sounds good.
So that's, if there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay.
I have something else I want to bring up.
Okay.
Again, when the city takes over these subdivisions and before they're being built, these big trucks that haul in their equipment and everything are going down our city streets. And all the dump trucks going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. To help pay for our streets, I don't think it'd be out of line to charge a fee, not a fine or anything like that, but some kind of fee to help pay for parking on the streets.
Right, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and it's something that I'm working with Justin on. A lot of cities have gone to impact fees, and that's where the developers would be paying a fee for the damage they're creating by doing the development with the trucks and things like that, and the demands and the growth on the city. And so we are going to be looking at impact fees for police, for fire, for the streets, for the street department as well. And those are something that we're putting together and going to be bringing back to y'all very early next year.
I have a question.
Yes.
To add on to that. If they build a house though, our city's getting an impact fee for every house that's
That's
being
built.
built. So this would be an additional impact fee for the things you mentioned. correct?
Right. It's like the water and sewer. Yes.
So theoretically,
Yes.
impact fees don't impact existing residents. They only impact when a builder comes in and does development.
Right.
And you charge whatever it is. If it's, say, at $3,000 a house, the builder pays that, and then the builder rolls that into his cost. And he passes that along in the cost of the house. So it ends up costing the individual who buys the house maybe $10 to $15 a month. So they really don't see it, but it doesn't impact any existing residents. That's the way impact fees are supposed to work.
Right, and that's how our water and sewer works. That's how we're able now to do a cost share on some of the projects we're doing without having to go out and borrow money and raise rates. And it's something that helps, and it doesn't, that's one of the benefits of it, is the people that live here that maybe on fixed income or whatever, they're not the ones paying for it. It's paid for by the developers that are creating the additional impact.
And that money can be used, I believe. There's some restrictions on how it can be used, but I believe it can be used for equipment and it can be used for responder manpower.
Yeah.
You can't hire an office person, but you can use that money to pay for an additional police. Anyway, that's what you said.
Yeah, but that's why we were looking at that, and that's why it takes some time to do it. It has certain requirements that we have to go through. I think it requires a study to be done. It requires to determine, like we did with water and sewer, what the potential needs are and what the right rate is based on our particular growth rate and all of that. And it does require a few things like that, a public hearing, I think, and some things before we can actually implement it. That's why it'll run into next year a little bit, but we are actively working on it now.
The developers are pretty much shocked to go ahead.
What was that?
The developers as I spoke to Renee, we went through the same thing around it. So, when they walk in the office and they expect to get the impact fees.
Yeah,
They truly, and when you tell them, the impact fees are right. Okay,
most cities in this part of the state have impact fees. There's a few that don't, and they do expect to pay it. And it's the first few weeks after we imposed the water and sewer, they all took their opportunity to gripe and complain, and now it's just part of doing business. And I asked them when they were griping and complaining, do you do business in? And I named off 4 or 5. Yeah, and I said, so you're used to paying. And they're like, well, yeah, I'm kind of grinned and went on about their business.
So if we pass this, it would take effect immediately upon that, or the developments that are already passed don't have them, and it's only the new going forward?
It would be anyone getting a building permit. It doesn't, anyone that's already got a building permit, it showed in, or at least if it's like the water and sewer, it was done at the permitting stage.
So every home that goes up, do you have to get a permit for that individual home?
Yes.
Or a permit for the development? So this
It's
is
for
what we
each
pass
home.
off.
But I mean, anything that started between the time we pass it and the time that we get, the time that we propose it and we get it passed, those homes that are already under construction, we couldn't build. Those that come in and get a building permit from that point forward, we would do.
and I believe that you actually can write in the impact fees or waiver for if you want to build your own house. Where you could actually write in there that an individual is building their own house is not paying impact fee.
There may be a way to do that.
That addresses the individual's issues with impact.
But that's all I've got. Anything else? Did I hear a motion to adjourn?
So,
I did send a message to our salesman at Axon asking about the rate guarantee. So I should have an answer for you guys by the next meeting. And then there's some videos I can play for you so you know exactly what we're looking at getting if you want to hang out after the meeting.
Thank you all.